Ukraine, where Russian missile strikes force emergency power shutdowns. Like the video and subscribe. We will continue to bring you hot news every day. Ukraine is switching to emergency shutdowns to stabilize its power grid after Monday's Russian missile attacks, President Volodymyr Zelensky has said. He said many regions were affected, and the local authorities warned that about half of the Kiev region would remain without electricity in the coming days. Overnight, more missiles hit critical infrastructure and residential houses near the southern city of Zaporizhzhia, regional officials said. No casualties were reported. 4 people were killed in Monday's attacks. Ukraine's energy minister said he hoped to significantly reduce the power deficit caused by the latest strikes by Tuesday evening, bringing nuclear power stations back onto the grid. The country is now seeing snow and sub-zero temperatures in many regions, and millions are without electricity and running water. There are fears that a number of people may die of hypothermia. In a separate development on Tuesday, the governor of Russia's Kursk region said a drone attack on an airfield set an oil storage tank alight. There were no casualties, said Roman Starovoyt, but 2 local schools were closed for the day. He did not say who could be behind the attack in the region that borders Ukraine. Is attacking Ukraine's power grid a war crime? Why millions of Ukrainians have no power as winter nears. Learning to survive in town with no heating. In his video address late on Monday, President Zelensky said 70 Russian missiles were fired on Monday, and most of them were shot down. The Russian Defense Ministry, meanwhile, said it hit all 17 of its intended targets during its massive strike using high-precision weapons. Mr. Zelensky said the biggest number of shutdowns is in Vinnytsia, Kiev, Zhytomyr, Dnipropetrovsk, Odessa, Khmelnytsky and Cherkasy regions, referring to the regions spanning the length and breadth of the country. But he pledged that the authorities will do everything to restore stability. The Ukrainian leader said electricity supplies were also affected in neighboring Moldova, proving that Russia's actions were a threat not only to Ukraine, but also to our entire region. Monday's strikes were Russia's 8th massive missile attack in 8 weeks, and came after days of repeated warnings that Moscow was planning the fresh assault. The assault eventually arrived just hours after a series of explosions at 2 military airfields deep inside Russia, which Moscow blamed on Ukrainian drones intercepted by Russian air defenses. 3 servicemen were killed and 2 aircraft were lightly damaged at the airfields in the Ryazan and Saratov region, the Russian Defense Ministry said. Ukraine has not publicly commented on the issue. The 2 airfields, hundreds of kilometers from Ukraine's border, house Russian strategic bombers that have been used to carry out missile attacks since Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine began on 24 February. President Vladimir Putin chaired a meeting of Russia's Security Council on Tuesday, a meeting that usually happens on Fridays. State TV showed a clip from his opening remarks, in which the Kremlin leader said the subject of the meeting would be state security. Before the latest Russian strikes, officials in Kiev were talking about moving from highly disruptive emergency blackouts, which often last for many hours, to more manageable scheduled power cuts which offer civilians some badly needed predictability. Moscow has been battering Ukraine's power grid since 10 October, following a string of heavy military defeats on the battlefield. Some Western leaders have called the strategy a war crime, because of the huge amount of damage caused to civilian infrastructure. Experts have told the BBC that Russia's tactic of hitting energy infrastructure is most likely designed to demoralize and terrorize the population, rather than gain any concrete military advantage. Moscow has repeatedly denied the allegations. We hope the video was useful to you. Like the video and subscribe. We will continue to bring you hot news every day.